Can you imagine being Pete Egoscue, having helped millions of people, Tony Robbins having helped billions of people, and having your ego take over? That could be dangerous. Versus saying, it's not about me. It's not about me. And when you can check me at the door, I'm going to put me at the door, and it's about you, the customer. Now it's about their need. Chet Holmes said it. All these marketers said it. Tony Robbins says it. It's about adding value. And all I do is add value, and then guess what that does? That builds the trust between us, and then builds a connection between us, and we could end up doing business with each other.
All right, we got a special guest here today on the Strategic Life podcast. My name's Jake Havron, by the way, but it's not about me here. It's about this amazing guest. This guy, and trust me, he's already laughing because we're gonna have a full, just fun time today. But this man, I found him personally when I was at my Tony Robbins events. When I went to the very first event, I saw this guy on stage. He came out on stage, and he, within like 20 seconds, was busting jokes, and he's supposed to talk about these body postures, and he's drawing like stick figures on the stage, and he's wearing goofy, wacky socks, and you'll probably see some of those here today. But what I really loved about it is his posture, figuratively, literally, I wasn't planning that, but his charisma and just his knowledge. And to be on a stage like Tony, and then to learn there's so much more depth to him, I just knew that this was years ago. There was something we had to do. There's something we had to create. And now here we are years later, and the beautiful ability to have this talk show where I have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brian Bradley. It's great to have you here, brother.
Thanks, dude.
How did I do on that intro, dude?
It's embarrassing. Yeah,
okay.
I appreciate that.
That's right.
It's one of those things you never get used to hearing people talk about you. They're always, send me your bio. And then they start reading off the bio. Hey, Brian's on a life mission to do this. And I'm like, am I really on a life mission to do that? Or did somebody actually just write that because it sounded good? But I'm sure we'll get into that later, and I really appreciate it. I'm so happy to be here. I remember the day that we met, and your energy was attractive in the sense that the minute you asked me to do something like this, didn't even have to think about it. The answer is yes.
And that's really cool you did that, because at the time, I didn't really have much to offer. I was ambitious. You felt that energy, which is so cool. We could definitely dive into that. We have so much we're going to share here today. But you know, I believe there's all perfect timing, and then you just build a trust relationship, and then, like you said, I hit you up, and this guy's literally traveling the next day from when we're recording this to West Palm to go speak on Business Mastery Virtual.
Oh, this will be UPW.
Oh, this is UPW.
UPW Virtual, then Business Mastery's next month in person. So.
Next to the man, you know, the incredible man, Tony Robbins. So I just got to ask, man, let's be real. Like, we're just going to get right into it. This podcast is all about getting strategic. It's all about 2mm shifts. It's all about getting the edge, because these people listening are entrepreneurs. They already know what personal development is, what business is, but they want the edge. How does like Egoscue Method and just what you're doing, like how does that kind of relate to the 2mm shift of just creating that?
Yeah, that's an easy one. First of all, you won't be tested on the spelling of Egoscue nor on the pronunciation, but it's back here, the Egoscue Method. It's Pete Egoscue's last name. We'll get into that in a second. It's the unfair advantage.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to steal one of Dave Asprey's statements and products that he does, but it's truly
put a disclaimer on the bottom, by the way.
Yeah, a little disclaimer. And we love Dave. Dave does great stuff. But I will say that if you truly want to take your body, mind, and spirit to another level and create some calm without having to go to an app that calms you down. This is an internal calm. Like we talked about praying before. Praying is a form of meditation. And if people, and I don't care what faith y'all are from, but who I believe in comes with prayer. And I look at that and say, why do I do that? Well, it connects me. It takes me back to my past, my mom and dad and family and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Whether you believe or who don't believe in anything that they want to believe in, as long as you're answering to someone or something else, then you're out of the way. Your ego's out of the way. So, how does this tie into Egoscue? When I found Pete Egoscue in 1991, so it's almost 31 years this year, it's been amazing. Somebody said, well, you've really never had another job. And I said, I don't even have a job now. Like, this is literally a lifestyle, a thought process, something that you believe in so deeply that everywhere I go, it never shuts off. To the point where my family's going, Just leave him. He's going to meet with somebody at that table, leaving P.F. Chang's, for example. Or we ate at a restaurant, got Something Creek up in San Juan Capistrano yesterday, and these two people were sitting down at the table, and I could tell, and I said, you don't have to be in that much pain. I said, here's a picture of the pain-free book. I said, just go get it. If you don't like it, get a hold of us. I'll buy it back from you.
This book right here.
Yeah, it's the second edition. Yeah. It's a game changer, but it's a starting point for people to start to believe in themselves versus going, I have so much pain, I'm broken. Because when you adopt the mindset that you're broken, it's going to take a serious interrupt. And the master, Tony Robbins, helps with that because he doesn't talk you into anything or brainwash you into anything. It's a thought process of, well, what would your life be like if you weren't in pain?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm in pain. But what would it be like if you weren't? Close your eyes and picture that. And they smile. Oh, and he's going, there's the smile I'm looking for. It's 50% of our work, changing the mindset, which is why the first chapters that Pete Egoscue get in is basically, what could you do? What would you like to do that you can't do now? And then at the end of the book, he comes in and says, now, what can you do that you couldn't do before? So it's a mindset shift, 200 pages a book or however many pages are in there. But when you get that, you're literally resonating at another level. And that's why for me, at the age of 50, the ripe old age of 54, I love it because we're going to work out here in a little bit. And, what are you, like 15, 16 years old?
Cellular age.
Cellular
there.
age, yes.
I did
That's
the test, but now I'll give it about a decade or so more.
Well, think about it from the standpoint of I'm double your age, and we're going to be able to do things together because I'm getting better as I get older. But what I hope to do is inspire you, which you're already inspired enough with all the stuff you do. But to look back on this in 20 years and say, that's why when I do, for example, just one arm rows with any weight, I have to do it this way because my hip will respond versus just going like this and then coming out of it. Lats are like this and then you go to sleep like that. Like the gentleman that was walking out earlier who walked in with serious neck and arm pain. And I had to say to my therapist, let's just go away from the area that's tweaked because we don't treat symptoms, we look at the overall picture.
Well, and that's what's exciting. Well, we're kind of like, we're getting a workout after this. You're definitely going to probably put me through exercises that are going to make me look like I haven't worked out in years. And I'm cool with that because we all need a little bit of humbling, right?
I'm sure you could do the same thing to me. I won't let you do that.
I'm in your environment here.
Correct.
But so much you just shared there, but let's go back to 31 years ago, you met this guy, Pete Egoscue.
Yep.
Like just so everyone understands really quick, you've been in 15 countries speaking. You, at least probably.
Every country on earth now.
Every country because of the virtual.
Because of the virtual and because we've done what we've done over COVID, it's been unbelievable.
So when you open up your sock business, like you're gonna blow it up because everyone sees these socks.
100%.
I mean, if you're watching the video, like if you're on audio, then you're gonna have to watch the video here. But if you see his socks, like we'll have it like where maybe it pans in here. This guy knows how to do a sock game. But you're doing all this now. But who were you like 31 years ago? Like what was the actual mindset? Did you know personal development? Did you how did you even connect with Pete? Like, what was that like comparatively to 3 decades later?
Okay. I was working for a physical therapy company. I had come out of college, athletic trainer, exercise phys. I knew everything. Right? Because you graduate college, you know everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know shit. Like literally came out and I was so into treating symptoms, but I was secretly scared of symptoms. But my ego and my significance would never allow you to see that I was scared of those symptoms. Like, I got this, let's go. People were attracted to the certainty, and luckily I was around some good physical therapists and stuff who really knew their stuff that I could help them out with to help these people progress. Luckily I ran into Pete Egoscue at PGA National with Jack Nicklaus when we opened up a clinic there. They offered great insurance, they offered this, here's the pay. I'm like, and I'll do this for a while until I go back and get
Was it called the Egoscue Method back then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
It was and I had never heard of it. I thought somebody was sneezing when they said Egoscue.
How long was he doing it before you guys met?
He opened up this Del Mar clinic, which we're in now, but he had another clinic. Oh boy, so that would have been 91, so probably 85, maybe 5-6 years in clinic, but he was doing it since 1971 is when he had his revelation that it's up to me to fix my body coming out of the Vietnam War, not these MDs who are trying their best.
Expand on that. Expand on how this started.
Yeah, it was, he tells this story about how he's walking through the jungles of Vietnam with his platoon, whoever, whatever you guys call that stuff, and I don't mean to downplay it because I just didn't spend any time in the military to be understanding exactly what he was doing.
But you're like the biggest patriot that I've seen out there. You love this freaking country.
It's unbelievable.
So,
the United States, the world is amazing, honestly, because the United States is not better than everywhere else. But I will tell you, if you have an outlook of humanity is equal, in the sense I couldn't care what color, what sex, I don't care what you identify as. For me, I respect you and I love you, and that's it. You know, if you go about it that way, if you start there, then how can you really get pissed off, you know? Unless somebody's already angry and then they're portraying their own misery, which I don't have any room for that. We'll touch upon that in my life. The drama goes away very quickly.
We're going back to the platoon and
and he was walking through the jungle, and the guy puts his hand up front. Pete walks up, he goes, "What's going on?" And there was a lady villager up there, and she unraveled herself, took the rice or whatever she had on her head and set it down, and gave birth. Squatted down, gave birth, picked up the baby, wrapped it up, wrapped herself up, picked up what she had on her shoulders or head, and walked back to the village. And that's when Pete said, he thought about this years later after his injuries, he said, I remembered that moment and said, the body can accomplish anything. If it's so resilient that you don't need to pull your knees to your chest to spit a baby out that way under some type of epidural. That's what we do in this country for sure. And I'm not downplaying how they do that. It's all medically safe. But the natural ability of the female human body to squat and drop, it's amazing. And by the way, that's why women are given the chance to give birth and not us, because there's not a chance in hell that I want that kind of pain. So bless you women out there. So looking at this, he remembers that as the day that it all changed. Not his decision to start Egoscue, but that came from injuries. But he remembered that ability. And then he starts thinking, well, here's my injury. Look what she did. And then basically, I'm out. He picked up Grey's Anatomy, started studying it, and then he said, oh, the ankle does get affected by the knee and the two bones in between, and then all the bones in the foot and the ankle. Oh, wait, the shoulders. Oh, interesting. So it took a man with no blinders on, no education, zero anatomy, to be able to look at the human body and say, it's capable of anything if you give it the right stimulus. Now, what attracted me to that was I knew nothing. I spent 4 years in school, 2 degrees coming out, a minor in nutrition, and said, I'm ready to go. But the degrees don't do anything for you.
Right.
It's the implementation.
Yes.
So my son's in school right now playing Division I soccer. Get your degree, but real life starts out here. You know, the degree gets you in somewhere. I understand that's a key to get in somewhere. And hopefully we'll figure that out as a country later on and get better at that too for everybody.
We're pretty delayed in that.
We are.
That stuff
we
out.
are, but it's a, don't force people to do it, you know, that kind of stuff. But when they're ready, they're ready. What I learned from that was this guy knows something that I don't, and I'm going to learn it. And it took me about 90 days working with him, and then somebody finally put 30-pound dumbbells in my hands and said, bench press that. And I'm like, bro, I use 110s. Like, are you serious? You want me to floss with these? What do you want me to do? You want me to flip them up and down? What do you want me to do? And when they made these changes to me posturally on the bench, they knew Bradley's not understanding it. I got to hit him where he thinks, because I was a meathead back then. And I'm benching, and after 10 reps, I'm like, oh my God, these things are so... And I put them down, and my chest felt like it was out to here. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Another thing that I don't know. And it wasn't tied to pain, it was to performance.
Yeah.
That's what really got me going. And
this was 90 days in with
90
working
days
with Egoscue,
in after working with Egoscue.
So were you a little skeptical still until they did that?
I didn't give a shit. It's not that I was skeptical. I wasn't interested. I was thinking about my future going, I'm going to go back to school. I got to learn this. I got to get another degree.
So it was like super temporary at the time.
Super temporary, and until it was attractive because Jack Nicklaus was tied to it. My family came from golfing, and I'm like, wow, great, Jack Nicklaus, hey.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you that story. I got hooked up with Pete Egoscue in Florida, and one of the big things that was attractive was the Jack Nicklaus stuff. Well, my family grew up golfing. My brother had the club championship for 20 years. You know, he had the lowest score, blah, 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 blah. My dad was a golf coach, forced me to learn how to play golf, which right now at the age of 50-something, I can go out and do what I want with a golf club, you know, not be worried about it. Everybody else is frustrated. I'm like just having fun. But you can still hit it 300 yards down the middle. Short game takes a beating when you don't practice. I do get that. But understanding where power comes from, meaning power in the golf swing comes from here, and then the arm comes through. Power in a punch comes from here, and then the punch comes through. Baseball, there's a separation, you know, where your body's here, and then you come through, your hip drives first. I called my dad and I said, well, golf's ruined forever. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, I just gave Jack Nicklaus a golf lesson. He's like, oh God, there goes golf. Because he knows I wasn't the one addicted to golf. What I meant was, we were talking to Jack about when your hips are imbalanced, then your golf does this. And this is the greatest golfer ever. And he totally buys into it because he understands, I feel so much better when I do Egoscue. I don't need to have back surgery. And that was a big deal for me to be around at that time. And then finally I had that aha moment and I went, okay, wait a second. There's a lot you don't know. And remember, my ego couldn't take that. At that time I was like, you got to be, Brian, you got to fake it till you make it. You got to do this. If I had to tell that to anybody out there now, young kids or whatever, it's fine to have significance where you feel like, hey, are other people judging me? Do I look the right part? Because I was in the gym 6 days a week going, do I look the right way?
Are you just talking about me right now, or what? Like, you're trying to make me feel like a little like I need to do some inflection?
Not inflection, but your God gave you your abilities and heart, mind, head, body, this, basketball, sport, everything else. When I see people trying too hard, I can't wait for them not to try hard anymore. And it's coming. I'm not even saying change it on purpose. Let it happen organically. Because you don't even realize that when you do allow significance to work for you. In my business, I'm a better therapist because I don't want to be wrong. I'm better because of that.
So you use significance for benevolent purpose, but
100%.
It's not like you're saying you're just putting it aside. So let's get a little tactical on that, because right now you are a very successful businessman. You're only going to be more successful. You're working with the best. You do have a confidence to you. You do have significance. I see that, and it's a good way. But that's not who you were. So like, if there's someone listening right now that, they are maybe realizing that they are a little significance driven. Maybe they haven't gone to a Tony Robbins event, so they haven't done their 6 human needs. Like, what was it for you, or what can you provide as in a way for someone to tactically start to check their ego, or, not have significance be the first thing that they're trying to do or trying to achieve or, give life to?
Never go into a speaking engagement or a conversation. Let's just call it conversation because that's a speaking engagement. I never go into a speaking engagement having practiced what I'm going to be talking about. Like, people prep. Here's your PowerPoint. Let's talk about this and blah, blah, blah. I don't do that.
Wait, what are you talking about? You had like 10 pages of like script of what we're about to talk.
Correct. We did not.
No.
But I will tell you. Well, he was asking me questions like, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, we'll find out. Hey, what are 3 things you know I should know about you?
Yeah, we have some interesting tidbits on, who your heroes are.
Oh, if I were you, I'd put them in the show notes. I would take the text and put it right. You guys know that I actually sit down to pee. So, but those of you that know me, you already know that. So that's not something everybody needed to know.
How do they know that?
Well, I've probably said it once or twice before. But that's a perfect example.
Is that like 25% of the time? Is that every time? Like, because I understand, like, sometimes you might do it.
I would say 70, 80%.
70 to 80%.
It's comfort. It's comfort.
Okay.
Whereas remember, sitting's the new smoking. It's so bad for you. And that's why during a lot of talks, I'll say, I want you to think about me tonight when you're on the toilet. Everybody chuckles. Okay, I get it. But when you go to get off the toilet, especially you, 6 foot what?
6.
6'6".
With shoes.
Now think about it. 6'6", getting off a toilet that's built for 5'6".
That's true.
Right? And then you go to get up and you're like, I got to push off here. You use your upper body to do everything.
Yeah.
That's why we try to get people to get back into it. But we'll go into that from a therapy perspective.
Potty? Do you
the
believe
squatty
in that?
potty, I bought 18 of them for Christmas 5 years ago.
Okay.
And gave them away as gifts. I think it's one of the greatest inventions of all time.
Okay.
In fact, I got a hold of the company and said, why don't we collaborate? And then one of my business partners was like, dude, I don't want exercises put on the squatty potty. People are looking down.
Man.
And I said, no. I said,
is this still an opportunity? Like,
it's still an opportunity.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, I think it would, because people realize that you have 32 feet of intestine, and
Yeah.
you're healthy, I'm healthy. But if our intestine is not healthy, then pardon my French, but we're in some deep doo-doo at that point, right? So that's when you really get yourself in trouble. The gentleman that I had in here in his 70s, mid-70s, if he falls, breaks a hip, studies show that 6 months later he's dead because of the bacteria leaching into the bloodstream, all that stuff. So let's get people balanced as much as possible.
Get a squatty potty.
Well, yes, and do your exercises.
And do the exercise, which we'll talk about.
And listen, Kelly Starrett and his wife talk about, the deep squat position, the ready state. Can they drop down to that deep squat position? When's the last time you were actually deep down on the ground, squatting and sitting on your heels? Can you do it? Well, somebody like Pete Egoscue said, everybody has the ability. It's not a genetic problem. Me, I've had 2 ACL reconstructions, and I can still do deep squat sitting down there for an hour if I wanted. It doesn't bother my knee because I do enough to bookend at the hip and the ankle so that the 3 bones can actually align themselves rather than being still stuck in the noxious position.
So let's talk about that, but let's actually, because this is how it goes. It's all these different paths, which I love, and that's why we're probably going to have so much things we're going to go over. But let's go back to the ego thing. So you said to not plan or prepare for when you go to engage with people one-on-one.
Have enough confidence to allow an organic conversation by asking a question. So for example, you walk out on stage. Guys, thank you so much, Brian Bradley, blah, blah, blah. And here's what I do. Egoscue, Function Freddy, blah, blah, blah. That's what I do. Who cares? Nobody cares what you do. They care why you do it, right? So I go into why. Where are you interested in why I do this? Because I'm in my 50s. I've had every opportunity to be all over the world, to do what I want, but I choose to be here. I choose to be with Pete Egoscue. I choose to be spreading this message as far as we can go because people deserve to learn about it and to live pain-free. Well, that takes an ego check because it's no longer about me. Can you imagine being Pete Egoscue, having helped millions of people, Tony Robbins having helped billions of people, and having your ego take over? That could be dangerous. Versus saying, it's not about me. It's not about me. And when you can check me at the door, I'm going to put me at the door and it's about you, the customer. Now it's about their need. Chet Holmes said it. All these marketers said it. Tony Robbins says it. Add value, add value, add value. My last night of Business Masteries tonight with Fiji, I'll be up on film with them. It's about adding value. And all I do is add value. And then guess what that does? That builds the trust between us and then builds a connection between us. And we could end up doing business with each other. It's just that simple.
So would you say the tactical thing for someone, because they might not, the dilemma that could happen in people's head is that, well, you're with Tony, you're already doing the best. Like, yeah, it's pretty easy to say add value, but what if it's someone that's literally just
wait a minute. I wasn't always with Tony. How'd I get there?
By adding value.
100%. So at some point, Tony hurts himself, shows up for an appointment 3 hours late. Pete Egoscue was supposed to work with him.
Sounds about right.
But Pete Egoscue was supposed to work with him.
Okay.
You don't do that to a combat Marine veteran. He's like this. You got him. I'm going home.
Wow.
Because it's like he's one of these guys, like, I'm not going to wait around. Like, he's a Marine. Time is, if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late.
Who he was. Like, he was
and they were friends.
Wow.
So he's able to say, bro, no. But it was the opportunity for me to go, okay, I got him. And I stayed till, 9:30 doing therapy with him. But I had no idea who he was. And he was doing all these power moves, and I'm like, what the H are you doing? Why are you hitting yourself? And he's like, it's what I do. And I called Pete.
I think a lot of our people know what a power move is. They see me doing it,
Well, the thing is, it anchors you to something. I think the ultimate power move is to get up in the morning and know that your skeleton is in the right place. Literally, I could eat metal in the morning and shit bullets by noon. That's how I feel, right? So it's one of those things where you wake up and go, how are we going to change the world today?
I like that.
If this is my last day on earth, did I make a significant change to the world for the better? And I know that's one of those very esoteric, like, no, it's one of the Hallmark movies.
Right.
But if you can really believe that kind of stuff.
It's game changer.
It is a game changer.
So Tony's story, and then I still want to get into the significance thing. So actually, let's go significance first. So you're saying that the idea, the perception, no matter if it's you speaking on stage, one-on-one connection, probably what you're about to share with the Tony story, it's if you're always thinking about how can I give value to them, that is what is the biggest thing for you that separates you from leading with your ego or significance?
Can you imagine if I would have said to Pete, it's about me, and I'm not staying late because I'm 22 or 23, 24, 25, whatever it was, and going, no, I have things to do.
Did you have things to do though?
Of course. I lived
that's key.
Going to the gym, hanging out, going to dinner, going on a date, doing whatever. All of those things went, it's interesting. But I have a client who's in a back spasm. That takes priority. The cool part is I use my significance to serve me. I didn't know who he was, but I'm going to get you out of this back spasm.
So you use that confidence, that significance to 100%. Be the one that brings certainty, which...
100%.
Okay.
And then when Tony was done, he went back from 5'7", no joke, to 6'7", and he's like, you got to be kidding me. And he was shooting an infomercial the next day. He's like,
this was
thank
like back
you.
In his 30s, right?
Way back when. And he's like, holy cow. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay. To me, it was just another client.
Yeah.
I liked that I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it wasn't like, oh my God.
Right.
For me, it's more like, no, bro, I've seen you at your worst. And the cool part is we're such good friends. And don't get me wrong, when I say we, I mean Pete Egoscue, Brian Bradley, Tony Robbins are such good friends.
Yeah.
This is not the Brian Bradley show at all. This is, I was given such an opportunity on a guy, Pete Egoscue, who introduced me. If you said, who are your mentors? Number one, Pete Egoscue.
Yeah.
Number two, that's not true. My dad and my mom, mentors, no question in my mind. Third, Pete Egoscue. Fourth, Tony Robbins. And it's not because I learned so much off Tony, it's because I watch what he does.
Yeah.
He lives his word, and it's no longer about, let's motivate people. He's not a motivator.
Right.
He's a strategist that allows you to understand and learn from yourself.
Yes.
Just ask the right question. So to go back to what should the younger generation do to learn, sit back and ask yourself, why do you want a social media channel? Why do you want to be on TV? Why do you want to be on radio? Why do you want to do a podcast? Why do you want this? Like if I said, Jake, why do you want this podcast? Don't give me an answer now, because there's an instinctive answer which says, cameras are on and I want this to help and serve other people. Okay, I'm calling horse shit. Why do you really do it?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of the answer of, because I want people to know that I truly do care about them and I'm a good person. That's significance, but doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
I'm using it for the force of good. It's like Superman, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what you're doing.
And
by the way, you could play the next Superman. I'm just putting it out there. If they get rid of the other guy with a big chest, I think Jake's available.
Hey, Marvel.
The only problem
they might
is,
be watching.
Yeah, but you don't meet the camera size. You have to be like 5'6" to be in LA.
I'm gonna need Tony's back spasm to be 5'6".
Correct.
I don't know if that looked good on camera, but
it won't.
It would shorten me down.
It won't.
We also could do what is it? That movie Gattaca, where they kind of
Well, they could just lower all the ground that you're standing in, so it's good.
Okay. Yeah. But anyways, this is what happens when you're talking to Brian Bradley. All over goofy. I love it. Going back to the significance thing of what you just said, it's so true, because if you guys know the 6 human needs, it's, Tony talked about this. He seen people all over the world realize there's 6 human needs. You got certainty, you got variety, you got significance, you have number 4, which is love and connection, and then you have the 2 of the human spirit, which is contribution, growth and contribution. So what I love about that, and I want you to expand on this more, because you're very... you live it, where you have significance, but I believe above that is either growth or contribution, but significance is right under that. And people are like, you know what, well, if I take my ego aside, I'll lose my drive, or you know what, I don't want to be known, or I don't want to be like that person that is on social media or grown or big or whatnot. But there are people that, if they are, the lineup is where if they're significant and then their contribution, they contribute because they want to be seen. But if instead their contribution and then significant, they will contribute even if they aren't seen, because the contribution comes first. So what would you say yours is for your top 2, and then how does that play into just how you live life? Is it
100% contribution?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't really care about whether somebody does business with me and it puts money in on my bank account. That's not what this is about. The reason why Pete wrote the whole book series, Pain Free, and I kicked him in the butt over the last couple years and said, bro, you're 76 years young. Let's put out another version of this. And you know what? The first one did so well. No, Pete, we got to modernize it. Gave him some reasons why. Then he and another person were writing this kind of book, and it's just amazing. But to him, it was, am I writing the book for the right reason? And he had to really contemplate, am I writing it because, think about what went through his head. He could be, wow, 76. I better get another book out. Then you're worried about life's almost over.
Yeah.
And that's not him. He's like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, bro. And that's when I said, okay, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, so get your ass writing.
So you flipped it back on him.
Oh yeah, because that's why he wrote in the book. He wrote, I'd like to thank my friend Brian Bradley for basically getting me to do this, because we need information like this. I need a version of this, so the next 20 years I can say, boom, go with this. And I carry it wherever I go. Pickleball bag, ping pong bag, football. I'm like, here, read this book, take a picture, all that. I can't stress enough that it should be about giving, and I don't care about being in a spotlight. I've been in the spotlight enough that I don't care. Look, 4.4 million people last year saw this pretty face.
It's a lot of people.
Sorry about that. I know. I'm so sorry.
And now we got even more people that are, going to have an experience that they probably never thought.
But it's not about 4.4 million people saw the face. Pete Egoscue told me years ago, he said, you got to be careful. What? Because I'm downtown partying with all my friends back in the 90s and all that stuff. And he said, people are going to get to know who you are. And I'm like, yeah, right. I do therapy on backs. And then it starts. Hey, you're with Egoscue. I'm like, holy shit. Nice. I'm like, I'm 15 margaritas in. I better start behaving, right? That kind of stuff. And it was always good tequila. So it helped with my gut biome. We'll go into that later.
For all our holistic people. They
sorry.
Like hearing
it was a really good agave.
No artificial sweeteners.
Correct. Well, it's true. Like you start to live in this world, and it's that's why there's certain people in LA. Like I work a lot with actors, actresses, and blah blah blah, or actors is what they call themselves now. So there's the people that I just don't connect with. Like I'll help, but we're not gonna. I'm gonna tell you what you need to hear. We'll be friends, blah blah blah, because of this. But then there's the other people who are all about giving. Somebody like Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper.
You've worked with him, if you could say that.
I can tell you nothing. But I will tell you, he works with a young girl, Emily Whitehead. And it's Emily Whitehead Foundation. And the way I sell it is that her dad is a very good friend of mine. We all went to high school together, and she had leukemia. Well, you know me, I have a stupid sick sense of humor. And I said, well, how'd they cure this? And he told me the story. I said, Tom, you realize the numbers of people that I'm going to be in front of in the next decade? He said, yeah. I said, okay. He goes, what are you going to do? And I said, oh, I'm going to fill your foundation with people who could contribute or do this and do this and do this. Bradley Cooper heard the story, works very closely with them. And I'm not telling you anything that's secret. But he's literally like he was in the movie with the singer movie. What was he in?
With Lady Gaga?
Yes. The way that he was so forget the drugs and all that, but that movie was amazing. Because you saw, and I know they're actors, they can do all this, but to be able to see how a person reacts to a young girl who has leukemia, she's going to pass, then they hear the story, they're doing all this, and they're going to turn it. I think it just took #1 in the Tribeca Film Festival.
Wow.
Amazing. In fact, I'm going to post about it on my social media. I sold it as, she no longer has leukemia. Well, how'd they do that? Well, they gave her AIDS and it killed the leukemia. And they're like, I'm sorry, they gave her what? I said, okay, just be clear. They gave her HIV and it killed the leukemia. But she has HIV. I said, I got your attention. Well, yeah. What did they really do? They trained her blood to fight the HIV. And then that blood then was able to destroy, and again, I'm paraphrasing and just know enough to be dangerous, kill the leukemia. Now there's thousands of people in remission because of this.
And it's in the Life Force book. You brought the money to, and
it's the Emily Whitehead Foundation, where because now this young girl is going to go to college and all that and stuff. And I was talking with her dad. I'm like, I personally don't want her to be known as the cancer girl, the leukemia girl, but realize that, hey, Emily, your pain brought the world a cure. And you're living. Like she's 10 years now, cured.
Oh
and what they're doing now is they're going to turn this into a movie, but the faith behind that and just the story about the little girl was going to get her legs amputated, and they rubbed this holy water on her that came from Italy or wherever it was, that the grandmother, who I'm good friends with, and then they laid these shrouds that were blessed by the Pope and all this stuff, and that's what their belief is. And the doctor came in the next day, and again, I'm paraphrasing what I heard. I'm not a man who believes in miracles, I'm a science guy, but what I just saw was nothing short of a miracle. And that's where that whole thing started on, look what this girl's gone through, and its belief system, and it's, we have faith as a family, and why we didn't go to this hospital versus this hospital. You use your position for good.
Yeah.
And I am far
I
from
love it.
And so are you, I'm assuming, until we get you the Superman role. I'm far from, what people who are really famous, like Aerosmith walks into a bar in Boston and everybody knows him, but they don't bother him because they know him and he's very pragmatic about his conversations, and it's not about the fame, it's about what can I give back. That's what you need to really focus on, and I think that's where Tony is now. I for sure know that's where Pete is. Pete is such a good dude in the sense that I could FaceTime him during the therapy today and he has a conversation with Joe, and it's like they never left each other. And Pete's been gone out of this clinic for 10, 12 years. Joe, I remember you 12 years ago. What's going on, buddy? Hey, get those knees straight.
Yeah.
And they're just two old guys giving shit to each other. Picked it right back up because nobody's ego's at play, and especially Pete's. His is all about the give. And for you, being in whatever age you are, way younger than I,
just a couple of years.
Start thinking, and you're already doing it with this, but start thinking, how can I serve? And trust me, if this was a money maker, all that'll come. Right? The money will come when you add value.
Yeah.
And your adding value is just be honest, be truthful. And the younger generation out there, don't try to, and this is tough because you guys are instant gratification social media.
What do you mean by younger generation? Just anyone younger than you? Because
no.
Like late 20s, 30s?
35 and younger.
35 and younger, okay.
Because when you reach 36, life is over. I'm just kidding you. But 35 and younger, you were probably born with a phone in your hand.
Yeah.
For sure, like my son's generation, it's always this. They actually watch a movie with me and the phone's on.
Yeah.
And it drives me crazy. I'm like, I rewind it. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, you missed that part. They're like, no, I saw it. I'm like, how did you see it when you were answering this and I hear Snapchat
the
going
sixth
on?
sense.
Like, but that's where their mind works.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm engulfed in the movie and really feeling the emotion from it. So if you can make one little 2 millimeter shift, which is don't turn the phone off. That's part of you. Ask why you're looking at certain things. Ask why you lost or what did you gain off of that 5 minutes that you just engulfed yourself in. Swipe, 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 swipe. And for me, I'm looking at it like this and they're creating all those problems in their neck. So for us at Egoscue, and for me personally, I'm on a mission to get people to just be present in your relationships, be present with yourself. The workout that we're going to do later, it's going to be nothing crazy, but I expect you at a young age to have some of the profound aha moments that I had when you're going to go, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If I do this with my arm, I'm doing a bicep curl. But if my shoulder's here and my pelvis is here, then only a portion of my bicep is getting it when the shoulder blade is the other end of the attachment.
Yes.
And the shoulder blade has to be stabilized. But so there's all kinds of things we'll be talking about.
This is amazing. And like we will dive into, because I want to give tactical stuff with the Egoscue, like what people can do, take home. That's why it's called the Strategic Life Podcast. But like, there's two things that really stood out, and I absolutely love it because I'm inspired just hearing it. I admire everything you're doing, and I know not just myself, but a lot of listeners are like this as well. Is the first thing was with the charity. You didn't know there was going to be a Bradley Cooper listening. You didn't know anyone. You just had this belief that you can help them, which is you led with that significance that you believed you could help them, but it was with the contribution. And you said, I'm going to find a way. I call it the ready, fire, aim. You're going to fire and figure it out later and retarget, but you did that in that situation, and then look what that led to. You had Bradley listen. You actually brought a lot of donors. Then you created this whole ripple. One of many.
Yeah, hold on. Bradley was already involved when I got involved.
But he heard about you.
No, he heard about her.
Heard about her.
And that's what turned me on to him. Whereas I kind of went, oh, just another actor.
Okay.
But then to watch what he's done with her and what they've done together and how it's just I love the dude. And it's because it's like some of my athletes that do the same thing. John Lynch, Justin Tuck, these guys they're so focused on helping the people that they're around. That's attractive to me. That's the Robbins thing. That's,
Bradley aside, even if there was no Bradley affiliate, it's the sense of like you were saying, I can bring people to you. And I've lived a lot of my life to that. I've been like, when I pitched you this podcast, it's like, obviously this is we've only been going for a few months, but I could assure you that this podcast is going to blow up. We're going to create a lot of amazing content. Like it was that I resonate with that certainty because I had to bring that to you, and you've probably felt that's why we're on this podcast. But the second thing that really is powerful that I want people to really understand and listen is when you had that option to either work with Tony or not, and you had no clue who this guy was, you had no clue where you would be today with the partnership, but you had this idea of like, you know what? Yeah, I want to prove myself in the sense, but you wanted to give value and you went all in. You took care of him. You got a solution. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. And I think just people need to hear that because they never know who that next person is. I say you're always one decision away from completely changing your life, one step away, one person away. And now here you are partnered with Tony for how long? 25 years? 28?
28, 29 years. But I will tell you, it's a fun one because Tony's fun, but Sage is amazing.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Tony's amazing.
Speak on that.
But Sage is just a badass. She is so spiritually connected in the sense that every strong man, Sage is a badass. I believe, I'm going to speak from the male standpoint, right?
Yeah.
So every strong man needs to surround himself with people that don't blow smoke up his backside. And I'm sure females are probably like this too, but I can't speak to that. I was raised by girls, but I'm not one. So I look at it and say, who do you have around you? And Tony and Sage, I've known him for a long time. And to watch him and to hear the stories that he tells and to watch his reaction with her, because she has no problem calling him out on some stuff where she's like, wait, or try this, or you've heard the story where he can now have a chocolate sundae and not judge himself, that kind of stuff. I guess the moral of the story is surround yourself with people that add to your life and don't bring a lot of drama to your life.
Yeah.
Politically, we just went through COVID-19, BLM, everything that happened in Minnesota, and all around the country, the shit that was going on. We were, or maybe still are, as polarized as we've ever been.
Yeah.
President Trump, polarized.
Yeah.
Whether you love him, hate him, that was just a different character in office than we've ever had. So you have choices. An easy way to stop the rhetoric is, do I want to give control to somebody else other than me? The answer is no. So when I see CNN, constant negative news, or Fox News, but I spell it F-A-U-X because it's really faux news.
Yeah.
So they're both fake.
Yeah.
And you look at this kind of stuff, if you let yourself get caught up in that and you take it personally, then you're ramped up.
Yeah.
Whereas instead you could say, and Pete taught me this a long time ago, thank you for the gift, but no thank you. So somebody says to you, wow, you don't look good. Oh, okay. Huh. That hurt. Or, wow, okay. What they're seeing is a reflection of themselves sometimes. They're looking for something wrong rather than going, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. You've been very successful. Yeah. You eating the profits? Now that's a different way to talk about, hey, Brian, maybe you could take care of yourself versus going, you look like shit.
Right.
But I do have a choice on how I accept it.
So how do you accept it? Like people that are getting that where they are getting judged, and I think majority of our people, they're not watching the mainstream media. That's not who they are, but they do see the little things that their influencer friends
They're
on
on social media.
But like, let's talk about the people that give those, judgments, whether it's they're growing out of their circle, they're, maybe on a plateau, or they're getting judged for who they're becoming. Like how would you just guide them on, a tactical way of handling things like that or understanding what's really going on?
A lot of people will go, get rid of people that don't serve you or doing this and this. And that get rid of is dangerous because that's a judgment.
Yeah.
Kill the judgment. I choose not to hang out with you where you are right now because it doesn't serve me. I choose, not you.
Yeah.
Or, man, that guy's a dick. Judgment. Boy, she's being a judgment.
Right.
Versus going, thank you for the gift, but no thank you. And the gift was, you look like crap. But if you put a turd in a box, Justin Timberlake, turd in a box, okay? Turd in a box, and you wrap it up in birthday, Christmas, whatever. Put a bow on top. Here's a turd in the box. I promise you, he wouldn't be able to sit there and not open it. He'd go, I gotta see.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to open up a present, a gift. So you can name something like that a gift because it has no control if it's a gift.
When they give you that
negative
comment,
that's the turd,
yeah.
right? I choose not to give you control.
So you're taking the control back, saying I choose, and not allowing them to be the one that's putting something on that really isn't probably about you.
Correct. But if we take it personally, Bill Clinton said this at Sun Valley, Idaho, or Whistler with Tony Robbins doing an interview. And it was right after Trump won, Hillary lost 2016, and she disappeared. Okay, because she put a lot of effort into that, she disappeared. He comes up and does an interview. He says, somebody raises their hand in the crowd. Hey, President Clinton, how do you handle the negative that's said about you? And there's been a lot. And Tony starts laughing. He goes, there's been a lot said that's negative, President Clinton. And he's like, they start chuckling. And he said, well, I read the 4 agreements all the time.
Oh, wow.
And I will tell you, I never take anything personally. And I thought, wow, that's kind of egocentric. A little bit. Like, you've effed up a little bit.
Yeah.
My opinion. Wow, you don't take any of that personally. Did you even take any accountability for it? He said, basically, he should have said to me, that's a comma, dumbass. I'm not done yet, right? Because that's what's going through my head. And he said, but I take it very seriously, and then I assume what's being said about me is correct. He goes, that will give me a chance to reflect on the narrative of what I was talking about or how I acted, come back to it and say, did I add to the narrative to give them that perception? Then it's my job to help change their perception, or leave it as is, or say to them, no, I think what you heard was this, but what I meant was this, or I could have spoken better. I thought it was one of the most genius things ever really put together on somebody whose life has been under the microscope for so long. Good or bad, I don't care what your listener, you guys can be anywhere you want politically. I'm purple. So, you look at this stuff, it's remember, I don't give them control. The statement, over where we're going to go work out, there's a synagogue beside it across the street, and they have "this too shall pass" on the fence. And I love that statement. I love it. And I drive by it every day and I'm like, that's awesome. And I don't belong to the synagogue or anything like that, but I'm like, what a statement, because it's a way to just say, I understand we're paying blah, blah, blah for gas. It's easy to get upset at that kind of stuff. But we'll see where it goes. Like, don't give it control. Maybe don't drive as much. Skip lunch one day, save some money that way. You'll find other ways around it.
I like that. So going back to Bill Clinton said, I don't take it personally, but I take it very seriously, and
I assume you're right.
So putting that into context, so let's say someone said to me like, Jake, you look like you're flaunting yourself on social media, like or we get, I don't know, maybe I don't get that.
Time out. You realize this has happened. That's why that statement came up. Tell me about it.
It's actually funny. It may be years ago, but things have changed. So, but I know this is a common thing is people feel that when they put themselves out there, they're talking about personal development. That's what they usually get. Because I coach and consult people. I personally, to be honest, I'm very grateful. Hopefully, you guys listening don't give me some bad messages. But let's say it's something like that, like you're flaunting yourself, like you are looking like you're trying too hard, whatever it is, and maybe you're not trying hard. So you're saying that when you get that, don't take it personally, but understand and take it seriously, like that they're probably right, and understand maybe why? Is that like...
Well, their perception is right because it's their perception.
It's their perception.
So your job's not to make everybody happy, but you could look back and say, you could engage in a conversation. Joe, thank you for the information. I'm always trying to get better. Which post are you talking about, or are you basically talking about all of them? Or do you just not like me? Now that's vulnerability. But now the guy's got to answer.
That's good.
And he comes back and says, bro, thank you for engaging in this conversation. What I really meant to say is, when you're sitting there with your shirt off, I don't really know if I feel comfortable because, you know what, never mind. It's about me. I don't like myself without a shirt. So there's those kind of things where people come from. But I invite the fight. Please bring me I don't care. Bring it to me. Brian, you're loud. You use too many bad words. You're loud.
We're going to have to audio control this mic. We're going to have to make sure.
Correct. But at the same time, you're going, oh, okay, is there a way to talk a little quieter? Is there a way to inflect on a word that you really want them to understand? Joseph McClendon. You are enough. All they heard was, you're enough. But if I said, you're enough, you heard it, but you didn't really, it's the way he plays with words, I think is genius, So I look at this kind of stuff and, again, don't take it personally, but maybe you could go back. Like I just did something in my cold plunge the other day and I thought to myself, all right, is this stupid? Like I was holding up a 40-pound piece of ice that was made in my cold plunge.
I saw that.
Right?
Yep.
And I had a arrow to here, arrow to here, and arrow to here. But your biceps lifting. And I was like, does this look too, hey, look at me? No, because my biceps underwater, so you can't see it.
Yeah.
But I said, your shoulder never works alone. And then I tagged Liverpool Football Club and said, just like you never walk alone, Liverpool, because I figured they'd get a kick out of it. Nobody responded. Thank you very much, England. I really appreciate it. You guys, I put a lot of thought into that.
No pun intended on the kick, too.
Correct. But you lift up the ice, and I lifted it up, but it's 3/4 of everything that I have, I'm topless, is covered. Because I couldn't really care about going, look at me, look at what I'm doing this. It's never about that. But even if it was, if somebody looks at it and says, at 55, I'm going to be like that, then fucking A.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, let's motivate people however they learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just, you'll have both sides. You know, if you're young like me, I'll have people that say, you're too young to be doing what you're doing, but then you also have people say, man, that's inspiring. So like, you just got to go with it. Let's fast track here though. Let's give some tacticals on Egoscue. You know, like this is all about getting the 2 millimeter shift. It's fixing your posture. I'm a big believer in, you know, the posture with just like how Tony talks about, it opens up your diaphragm a little more. It's not just an impression you create. It's a literally physiological experience. So a lot of people are, right now, they're either, that are listening are definitely sitting a lot because they're behind the computer busting their butt till midnight, or they're even using like a stand-up desk. Like, let's be real, they're standing, but even that, sometimes I feel like I'm like more in pain and I have to sit down. So what would be some, first of all, talk more on that, on how Egoscue plays into their performance, and then give some tactical things, workouts, or just like things to focus on literally like as they're watching this or right afterwards.
So there's a lot of hype about sitting is the new smoking, sitting is the new cancer. You know how I look at it, which is sitting is a sport, train for it, because it's not going anywhere. Chairs, computers, toilets, Peloton, Carol bike, car, bus, you're sitting. And then you say, I'm tired of sitting, I need to really exercise, so I'm going to stand up. But you took that same dysfunctional, static posture into a standing desk. You didn't become more functional, you just changed the load. What if you could change something sitting or standing exercise-wise? So Egoscue creates interrupts to the sport of sitting. You've been sitting for 2 hours? Do this. Go back to sitting. There's nothing wrong with you being 6'6". I mean, take a look at this. His knees are 6 inches higher than his hips, like a typical NBA player, who then gets the call. Jake, we need you. And all of a sudden, you're in such deep hip flexion. This is all so tight. The psoas is locking up, right? My head's over here like this. And then you got to go out onto a basketball court? I would raise your butt up about a foot.
That's what Phil Jackson did.
Yeah.
He was like sitting a foot higher.
Yes, you got to do it. Why don't you do it for all the NBA players? I've been saying it for years. Ideally, it's because people go, it's no big deal. Well, tell that to the player who tells me, my NBA player, who says, well, they're not going to ruin me. I'll give them 20 minutes for this and 20 minutes for that. I'm not giving them 40, 60 minutes to beat on me, and then eventually I'm not playing anymore. Oh, okay, so you do the work to yourself, and then he goes, well, yeah, and I also tell them, yeah, I'm not ready to play. My knees bother me a little bit. They'll pull me out. My knee's not really bothering me. So they have to think about the college player who gets a concussion. The real problem with CTE and head stuff starts in college, maybe even before. Because if you tell your coach you have a concussion, you're under a whatever week protocol, you lost your starting position. Yeah. These kids will lie about
tough.
it.
I went through that too, man. When I rolled my ankle in college, I had to fight for my starting position. I had to literally like every day try to prove myself. I was taping it up so tight that I could go play because of that pressure. So I totally can relate with that.
Yep, and my son just broke his foot. We did the same thing in his first, I've never seen a human being, male, cry that hard in his life. Then he finally said, okay, we got to go back out in the field. And I started laughing. I said, there's my boy. He goes, why are you laughing? I said, because I love that you broke your foot. Why is that? Because now we're going to get you so functional that you're going to go back and now the real athlete's going to show up. You were getting along, but you had the starting position. And now you lost it because you broke your foot. And then you start questioning why this happened to me. This sucks. I'm never going to get back. All those self-doubt things, right? We all go through that stuff. Instead of, thank you for the gift of the broken foot. What am I supposed to learn from it? And the world said, the universe provided, and we got him some of the best treatment, blah, 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 did all this stuff.
Good.
But I only chose practitioners who could play with his mind that said, you're getting more functional, you're getting stronger. Yeah, but I need to run. I'm not going to be in shape. Oh, really? Why don't you go for a run in the next week and find out? And he goes for a run and comes back and goes, dude, my body is humming. I am dangerous right now. It's not because you were running or you're in shape. You were so much more functional. It's like putting a Ferrari on the race course with a better aligned chassis.
Yeah.
Rather than something that's torqued.
So good. So you have the sitters, you have the standers. It's all about the function. Like, it's just changing the load. It doesn't make you any healthier. So what would you recommend for people that sit a lot? Like, what is something tactical they can do?
How long have we been talking? Almost an hour.
Yeah, probably an hour.
Look how I'm sitting.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting up straight. And I'm the posture guy.
Yeah, I know. You kind of made me sit upright and made sure my core is
I have
tight,
no,
which I normally do.
And I don't do anything. Literally, it's all hanging out. This is what you get, right? So I'm going, this is sitting. My body's serving me no matter what, because I do enough stuff outside of it to stay functional, so that if I did take a 6-hour drive to see my good friend who's a practitioner in Arizona to get my son worked on, it's a 6-hour drive, sitting there like this.
Yeah.
Listening to the rap station that he has on from the UK, which, by the way, rocked. I loved it. UK rap is amazing. So we'll tag them, okay.
We'll play that during our workout.
So sitting is not the new smoking. It's just part of living. You'll read chapters in here that talk about that. You'll look at the load on the spine. There is an increased load on your spine when you're sitting versus standing, because your ankles and your knees are no longer part of the shock absorption, but only if you're in the right posture. If you're in the wrong posture, it's the same amount of load sitting or standing, maybe even more. So change the body you take to sitting. Change the body you take to CrossFit. Change the body you take to the number one thing for chronic pain right now, pickleball. I mean, people are getting tweaked left and right, so why not?
Playing it.
What?
Everyone's playing pickleball,
Bro,
so they probably have no clue.
It's unbelievable. What they do is, they're your dad's age, and he's like, I found my sport again. And he went from doing nothing to playing 7 days a week for 3 hours.
Yeah. So what can they do? And you have exercises you can give away too, right? Like, that's something that there's like a couple exercises, but like right now, what are, like, maybe it's a focus on the core, it's a focus on the posture of their lower back, the way they pull their cheeks out so they can sit more. Like,
literally, if you sat like this, let's say I sat like this for 2 hours.
Okay, so he's cross-legged for anyone that's
okay, blah 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 blah, and I never crossed over to the left. That's a huge mistake.
Okay.
Because your SI joint on the back of this is being torqued in one direction, which would be the name of a great band, One Direction. You see where I'm going with that?
I see where you're going.
But you cross over like this, and you never cross over like this.
So you're saying being cognizant, keeping balance.
Switch sides every once in a while. You know, it's that's why Porsche is talking about getting rid of manual transmissions. Don't ever do that, you morons. Because from a standpoint of pushing the clutch in, your left leg's doing something. Think about it. Drive a GT3, boom, boom.
So you're saying I'm screwed because I drive automatic?
No, I drive an automatic now too. Mainly because I got a good deal on the car. Right? And I can take it to the track, I can race it, do all that stuff. But the manual transmission, there's nothing like it. Let's just say they all disappear. Okay. When's the last time you put your arm on the seat like this, turned around to back up your car? Never. Because you look right down at the backup camera. There's another thing that's lost. So force yourself sometimes to do it. So with my kid, I bought him a German vehicle.
Okay.
Not a manual, because I'm not going to torture him. Okay. But it had no backup camera.
Okay.
And no front end collision. Pay attention. Pay attention. Use your mirrors, do this. And then when we upgraded the car, I got the anti-collision, which I think is genius, because these kids are morons on their phones. And the camera will now stop them from running over something behind them. So every once in a while it would be, you know what, I'm going to switch legs.
Okay.
You don't have to do it every 5 minutes, but if you catch yourself doing something, go, wow, I didn't do it to the other side. Your body will thank you. Secondarily, sit in a chair away from the back of the chair, learn how to roll your pelvis down to some really crappy posture, and all the weight's on the top of your butt crack on your tailbone, and then use the muscles here to roll off of it, and then back down. So you're just teaching this. But notice what my chest is not doing.
It's not moving, it's not flaring
That's
out.
correct. What am I not doing? I'm not throwing my rib cage up.
Yeah.
So a lot of you have watched us on different podcasts and different things out there where we did arm circles, elbow curls, overhead extension. All of that could be done from this sitting down position and the sitting up position.
Okay.
And
so let's talk about that, because there will be people listening that don't understand. So you want it to be, because that's kind of what I focus on, is correct me if I'm wrong, I kind of put like my tailbone in the crevice of the seat. That way it's actually kind of locked in there, have a slight little arch, chest is not puffed up, but my core is tight. Like, is that the proper posture, like even when I'm sitting, or does it have to be more straight?
No, when you sit, just sit. Get comfortable. Like I'm sitting like this.
Okay.
You know, if we talk any longer, I'm going to be sitting like this with my feet up here.
What about people who are like on the computer for like hours? Like,
change it.
So like, what do you mean? Like,
what if you sat on, like I have a gaming chair that was $150. I bought it because it lays completely flat and I can take a nap in the afternoon.
Oh, nice.
Amazing, right? Oh, you didn't buy a $3,000 chair? I said, no, why? I have a $3,000 ass. And I really do. Don't kid yourself.
He's been working hard on that.
Exactly. The reason I tell you that is you can sit in a $2 chair built by the lowest bidder, but if you have a $2 butt, it hurts.
Okay.
You can have a $10,000 chair and put a $2 butt in it, and it still hurts.
So how do you make it a $3,000 butt?
You do the Egoscue exercises. You train for the sport of sitting and then sit any way you want.
Would those be like the ones that I did beforehand, this podcast?
Yeah, for example, like sitting up like this, then you were squeezing something between your knees.
So yeah, that's basically, so what I was doing before this, which was awesome, it activated. So if you're listening to this, put like a pillow or something firm but squeezable between your legs. Right?
On an airplane, literally you could use your fist like this.
Use the fist?
Roll up. Don't do this while you're driving. But you could sit up and then squeeze it 30 times, whatever.
So fist or side to side, legs are basically, what is it? It's
right in front of your crease of your hips right
here.
in
front, and your toes are 5 to 10 degrees turned
inward because
not outward.
Most people think that's straight when I want them to be slightly pigeon-toed.
So that would be like an exercise right there, 5 degrees turned in, fists on the outside or inside, and you're squeezing inward. So
correct,
that's
and you're sitting up to do it.
Sitting up.
Look, not chest out. Remember, tailbone off the tailbone.
Oh,
pull from here. Wake this up.
So round the lower back and then arch the lower back, but don't puff the chest.
That's correct.
Okay, I see the difference. And then what? Can you do the same thing with like
strap at the knees?
What if you don't have a strap? Can you?
A belt.
Could do a belt?
Yeah, just use like a regular belt.
So wrap a belt around the knees, and then you're pushing outward and then relaxing with your knees. So you're going to engage the outer glutes?
Yep.
So when do people do this? When should they do it? Should they do it when they're literally sitting down? Should they do it before they go to bed, wake up?
Well,
before workouts?
Just honestly, when you have time. I do mine at night, but my workouts are functional too.
Okay.
But if I play, Sunday I did 3.5 hours of pickleball straight because we were on the court the whole time. I felt like I was going to get heat exhaustion. I'm like, oh my God. And then I thought to myself, oh boy, like I'm going to be so sore. I'm flying on Tuesday. I better do some recovery. So yesterday we did this. We went to dinner, but from 7 o'clock till about 10 o'clock last night, I did Normatec. I did Egoscue exercises. Then I did the cold plunge again. And then I did Egoscue exercises where you're laying on your back, the tower, while I'm watching TV.
Oh, that's nice.
So if I'm going to sit and watch some TV with family or do whatever, then that's bonding time with everybody talking about stuff they just watched. But I'm not just going to sit on the couch and why? Because I've sat all day anyway.
Yeah.
So let's think about this workout that we're going to do this afternoon as a way for you to feel better tomorrow and set you up for the next day. Mm-hmm. Let's talk shoes for a second because I just saw my Hokas over there. Yeah. I bought those Hokas, right? And they have super thick, I bought them because my feet were taking such a beating on the pickleball court from the court shoes that I wanted to walk on a cloud. And the minute I put them on, I'm like, come on. This was amazing.
Are they?
They're amazing. Now, they're amazing for one reason. It gave my foot a break. Like, take a break, bro. It's like, relax. You've done so much work. Now let's cushion you with some cloud underneath you. Would I train in those shoes? There's a lot of lateral instability, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They're meant to go straight ahead. I would never play a rotational sport in those.
Yeah.
I would have the right shoes for those. You and I both have a good friend, Gordon, with A-Line Systems. The A-Lines that people have.
I got A-Lines.
You have them in the shoe. Yeah. So a lot of times the reason why, I'm supposed to be the anti-orthotic guy, but the reason why I like them is because it changes this bottom side, almost like what a toe hitch does when the receiver comes on top of it. Now there's a good union between the two. You don't need something that puts supination in there and pushes you out and makes you more prone to an ankle sprain or something like that. And I wear the A-Lines as a training tool.
Okay.
So 2 hours in, 8 hours off.
Oh, so you don't wear them full time?
I personally don't. Okay. But there's a lot of people that do.
What would you recommend?
Barefoot.
Barefoot, okay.
I go outside and I do a lot of barefoot work. I walk on grass, I walk on pavement, I walk on cobblestone, I walk on beach rock. Anytime I can get barefoot, I do. Now, a lot of people who are in the foot business, when your foot is, what if my foot's already completely collapsed in and it's failed? It may not be good for you to go all the time flat or flat-footed and collapsed. You might have to put your A-lines in and leave them in for the day. The A-lines will help your foot get stronger in the new position.
Okay, I see that. Yeah, A-lines are great. I noticed a significant difference. Obviously, I still need to do these exercises. By the way, is there like a package of like those exercises if people want to do like it's like a 5-minute exercise? Like how do they get more info on that?
Just go to my Instagram and then hit me up. I mean, I don't have a URL produced for this, but we'll get you the exercises. Like if you can email me or go to my...
We'll have it all in the show
all the
notes,
Instagram,
everything.
And I expect you to follow me on Instagram because I'm in competition against my 20-year-old and I plan on winning.
You want to support him. Give him an extra like. Every like matters.
And my significance needs it.
Yes. So that takes about 5-10 minutes to do that series? Because I know people are like...
I would say 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Perfect. If you don't have 5 minutes, you don't have a life. I had a question come up because she was one of my very first clients when I was a personal trainer years ago. That's how I started my entrepreneurship to the point where I'm at today. And she came wheeling in after getting a spinal cord injury at the time, 7 years ago, which is now about 10. Snapped her spine in half, paralyzed mid-waist down, and she's never been in the gym until the moment she came in, which was 7 years. And long story short, I helped reconnect a lot of the mind muscle because I was into that. I was a nurse, understood the body, but she now is an inspiration to show that she can be fit and move. And of course, like there's still like no movement in her legs. But her question was, what would you recommend for people that have spinal cord injuries? Like, is there any variations, especially if they have the wheelchair tummy and such? But what would you say for people specifically that maybe have that or know people that, need to take care of their back or their posture?
Do you ever hear of power plate? The
vibration.
Plate,
yeah.
So it's probably the best in the market. I don't know. I'm just going with what I know in the past.
I like power plate.
It vibrates in all 360 degrees, all this stuff. I would put her on the power plate.
Put like her butt on it, or
put her butt on it, put a cushion down because it's going to shake the shit out of her, right?
Yeah.
Then have her put her arms down. If she's a little scared, start off really slow, whatever it does, right?
Yeah.
There have been studies shown that on the power plate, the reactivity that happens because of that helps write a new pathway for people that are paraplegic. Like they're now able to, okay, I got to sit, they're completely collapsed, their belly's here, okay. And then after being on it for a while, I'm talking either minutes, which turns into minutes per day, which turns into minutes per month, minute per year, and they're able to get on that now and they can free sit.
I see.
So I don't know enough about it, but it's one of those things where I've seen the work that's come out of places like this, and the place where we're going to go do a workout, they have a power plate, and of course it's probably never turned on because they don't spend enough time talking about it nor what it could do, and it's an amazing piece of equipment.
Plate. So did Egoscue, part of Egoscue, was there an intention around working with people with spinal cord injury, or was there anything related to that, or not so much?
Not so much. Working with everybody. We say no to nobody. You walk in here, in fact, in the Pain Free for Women book, there's stuff in the back for new parents to do stuff with their kids while they're still in that can't walk, can't crawl, stuff like that. I will say this. For those of you out there that have kids and you have some when I say new kids, which would be the great name of a band too, but sorry, see what I did there? You're a new parent. I can't stand it when I see people hold their hands and have the kid walking prior to them walking. Drives me bananas.
You mean like holding the hands above while they're like walking?
Or put them in the swing because you're making dinner and the baby's over there doing this and it's pushing up on their pelvic girdle, spreading their legs apart like this. It's not natural.
Let me share a crazy story actually, and this was through a friend. So the son or the child learned how to walk in that girdle thing and was tippy-toeing. And so the kid to this day walks around on his tippy toes because his calves are so trained in that sense that when he stands naturally, his heels are like above, which actually I will connect you because I'm sure there could be some game-changing things, but like that's a real thing. And I literally heard this a couple days ago. Like I saw him and he was like, I'm standing normal, and his like toes are literally hanging off, and he's like, I could try to push down, but I need some weight. And And so it completely deactivated his glutes. He said that, his glutes barely even work. His hamstrings are really tight. And it was all because of that, So if you are a parent listening, like, this stuff really is.
So what could you do? The kid's how old now? 20?
17.
17.
Yeah.
Oh, it's too late, isn't it?
Yeah.
No.
That's what people would say.
That's what they would say. Give your kid the unfair advantage by promoting crawling. So Tony and Sage just had a baby.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about, she's probably 11, 12 months old. Great, beautiful, healthy.
Have you seen the baby personally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great for them. But I sent him a gift. What do you get a guy who's worth $800 million? What do you get him?
Something for the baby.
Like what? Nike shoes,
Egoscue.
U.S. savings bonds.
Egoscue equipment.
I bought him those tunnels that accordion and they Velcro to each other.
Oh.
And they're little crawling play tunnels. And I said, put these two together, and I have a sixth sense of humor, put her food at the other end and make her earn it. And of course, Tony's like, you sick bastard. But love the idea, because the longer you crawl, the more that cross patterning gets ingrained into the spine, into the nervous system, into the spinal development. So my kid, he would be 11 months old, crawling, and he's trying to stand up. And I would go, hey.
Yeah.
Now, luckily, nobody called CPS on me. But literally, I'd walk in, and he'd be trying to crawl up on something. I'm like, hey. Well, let's say this is our baby, right? I'm the wife, you're the husband, because I think if we were in a relationship, that's how it would be. But let's think about this.
Yeah, you think so, huh?
There's the baby.
Yeah.
And he or she is trying to be like us. Where are we? We're 3 feet above them.
It's true, yeah.
So everything is up here.
By the way, there's a water bottle. It's about a foot tall water bottle. He's knocking it over. CPS does not know about that, but this is in reference of
Correct, and I will deny it going forward. But if the baby is always looking up at us, what's the solution? Get on the ground. So Tony's 6'7". I'm like, bro, get on the ground. Because the baby wants to be where you are. He's like, and he got it. He's like, no, it totally makes sense, because he's tied into the Life Force book. He's tied into developmental stuff. He's tied into stem cells.
So he gets down so the baby would not have to crank its head up? Or
the baby looks at him and wants to be up there. That's why they want to stand up. But if you're on the ground all the time, they want to be on the ground.
Which it's better for them to get their crawling.
Crawl, move, play, roll over, fall down, get up.
Okay.
So what I did with my son was, okay, everything I do is going to be on the ground for the next 3 months. So from the age of 12 months to 15 months, he really didn't attempt to stand. And whenever I would see mother-in-laws and go, oh, like this, I'm like, yeah, don't. Or you're going to see another side of me. Because I'm not just asking you, I'm telling you, you're going to affect him for the next 25 years. And what I created was a kid who didn't crawl till 15 months. And I think the brain researchers would agree that the cross patterning left to right, left arm, right leg, all helps with brain development and vice versa. And I have a normal kid.
Wow.
Like, I have a kid who holds a door for people, not because he needs the accolades of thank you. He's like, that's just what you do.
Yeah.
He's not so engulfed in his own life that he doesn't pay attention to what's around him. Secondly, I took him to the park. And I was the creeper dad who was over on the bench for 3 hours sitting by himself at a park with a bunch of other kids, probably had the cops called on me. But I said, that's my kid over there. I'm like, Cole, come over every once in a while so people don't think I'm the weirdo. He'd come over and say, do we need to leave? And I said, do you want to? No. Well, then go play, bro. Don't come over and ask. So we'd get 2 or 3 hours at the park, acclimated to height, jumping, climbing, crawling, falling, problem solving, Mexican, Asian, African-American, white, Indian. He got acclimated to every race out there, which bummed me out a little bit during the BLM. BLM didn't bum me out, let's just be clear. Because I had to re-educate him. I was bringing him up in a lifestyle of there's no such thing as race. Everybody's equal.
Yeah.
Stupidly, I was doing that because now I understand, no. Now I see my black friends as my black friends because I'm looking at them going, I get you, bro. I understand now what we were talking about before. Whereas before I'd be like, no, they're my friends. Well, now, no, they totally get it. So when he was brought up like that, we solved a lot of problems by just going to the park. But we gave him the unfair advantage because 3 hours of climbing, jumping, crawling, problem solving, turned into
he's an
bigger,
athlete now.
faster, stronger, running a 4'4", 6'2" with a left foot. You know, and all of a sudden it was his football team was going, why don't you play U.S. football? And I'm like, because I like his brain where it is, so we're going to put him in soccer, which was dangerous because emotionally soccer is such a roller coaster because it's no longer about the 55 kids on the team in football or the 15 kids on a basketball team. It's 24 kids and they're all vying for your position. And it's, if I broke my foot, my life's over. I'm like, no. I'm not going to allow you to identify as only a soccer player. You're more than that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to allow you to give control over to all these coaches and stuff. I'm just not. You're better than that. What you are is a loving kid who loves the game, play it for the spirit. He's in his mind, I'm going to play pro. I want to get that off my bucket list, and then I'm going to work and start serving other people.
Yeah.
But it's all of this stem from don't let your kid walk too early. Take him to the park. That's natural weight training. Climb a tree. You realize he came home from school one day and said, I'm not allowed to climb the tree at school unless we wear a helmet. Well, I lost my mind and said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, because if you don't have a helmet on, then you're not going to do something stupid and land on your head because you go, I got to protect this. But if you have a helmet on, you're going to do something stupid and land on your head.
Right.
So just get these kids into a place, not always try to protect them.
Man, first of all, I acknowledge you for your vulnerability about talking about the race, and that's the thing that makes you so respectable, is that you're very conscious of what you're saying, but you don't filter yourself. Like you said that, like, you know, you had to change the way you looked at your black friends and your Asian friends and everyone, because, you know, that I just really respect that, first off. And I know a lot of people got a lot of liberation just hearing that. But the second thing is that, you know, there's people that probably have a kid that's less than 15 months old or will plan to have a kid. In a couple of years, I'm assuming I'll have a kid. You know, that's what I would love to have. But like, so the tactical thing is to get on the ground as much as possible. Let them crawl. Don't just try to get them to the walk-in, because I think that's the main goal for a lot of parents. Even till this day, I thought that was like, great, let's get them walking so they're moving faster, they're learning quicker. But it's more of the crawling. So getting down on the floor, being present around there, and not just always standing above them. Is that what you would say?
Especially, well, you're 6'6", so you know the kid's going to be like that, right? They'll end up with some type of torticollis in their neck. Society doesn't want that to happen. Society is all about electronics, sitting, not moving enough.
Yeah.
Well, create the environment. Like I have a biohacking house now. You know, that's how I look at it. The cold plunge, the biocharger, the regular Finnish sauna that's going to be 165 to 180 degrees.
Wow.
You know, all that stuff versus going red light. I don't think there's enough research for me to say yes to that yet. The Normatex. I have my Egoscue area. But none of those biohacks will be allowed to do what I want them to do to the body until I get my body as aligned as possible with Egoscue. That's not even just a belief system, it's just the truth. If your skeletal system is speaking to your nervous system and your nervous system speaking to your soft tissue, then you have the best chance of biocharging at a higher level, getting cold water immersion. I'm down to 33 to 34 degrees. I get in there and go, let's go, and today was cold. And
what do you do? Do you play any music? Do you focus? Or
yes.
meditate?
Today I put on Pantera.
And
I didn't really resonate with the song, and it was pissing me off while I was in the water, and that's even worse.
It made it worse.
Didn't work.
You're like, I need to get out of this.
Yes, I had Irish music on first, and it was like, I'm like, it's not working for me, bro. Okay, so you know, but the people at the Morozco company, who I have the Forge, which is the same one that Joe Rogan got put in his house.
Okay, yeah.
And you know, I like that he posted about it 2 weeks ago, and he had like 2.8 million likes and followers on it. I posted the same day. I had about 6,000. That's how different we are. But it's a.
You had 6,000 likes?
I think so.
Views?
Yeah. I think it was 11,000 now.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, look, it is what it is. But when I get to the 2.8 million, it'll be fun. Yeah. I think that'll be a lot more fun.
Do you have fun now, though, or are you only going to have fun when you get there?
Ooh, good question, Jake, because as you can tell, I'm a miserable bastard. I actually think it'll be probably more of a burden than anything else at that point, and it's going to happen.
It will happen. Yeah, with your goal, and you were sharing off camera the 50 years of, you're looking 50 years of what you're going to go. It's truly incredible. So, dude, I know we talked a lot about like Egoscue, that's what you're known for. But, bro, I mean, I'm a speaker. We have a lot of people that are aspiring to be, whether they're on stages already or speaking on IG Reels or, you know, IG videos or whatever it is. But like, talk about that. Like, how it just talk about how is it being on stage. the experience of being at the virtual, which is, if you guys don't know, it's 20-foot, walls, 360 videos, thousands of people. That's what, Tony built in the pandemic, and it's truly incredible. But like, just talk about the realness of maybe when you first started speaking to now how it is now, the dynamic of your confidence or the way you speak or the way like just get a little granular with that, because we want to really understand what it really is like to speak next to someone like Tony Robbins.
I'm going to give you my instinctual answer.
Yeah, please.
It's a privilege for Tony to speak next to me.
Yeah, I would say the same.
Now I say that with a little chuckle, because even if Tony was here, he would chuckle and go, "You son." No, he would actually say it is. That guy's a juggernaut. Yeah. He is the best at what he does, and the world is better because of him.
I agree.
And whether you like him or don't, the guy is about servitude and just giving back to people. So when I say that, I say it in jest, because the opportunity that Egoscue has given me to work with Tony and to get in front of 4.4 last year, I love public speaking. For me, you either love it or you don't. And for some reason, and I remember the day it started, Pete Egoscue said to me, we were in Cancun, Life Mastery, first Tony Robbins trip. People are dehydrated, they're going through cleanses and all that stuff. And he goes, "Okay, we're gonna run these people through, blah, blah, blah." And I go, "Okay, go, I'll be waiting over here." He goes, No, you're gonna do it. And I said, "I'm sorry, what?" He said, "You're gonna take the crowd." Now this is hundreds of people back then.
Really? When was this around? Just
93, maybe, no, 92-ish.
Oh, wow.
Something like that. And I'm like, "Bro, I haven't prepped anything." He goes, "Really? How about you this was a lesson, remember this. How about you speak to what you know that we do?" And I went, "Well, that's easy. We do posture." He goes, "Go." I walked out on stage. I said, "Guys, you get the bonus plan." I said, "You get me instead of Pete." And I'm going like this, "You get me instead of Pete." And they're all, Robbins crowd's like, "Yeah, let's go." They didn't care, right? And Pete's chuckling about it. And I said to myself, "You're going to deliver a message. You're going to just answer questions. And there's nothing somebody could ask you that is going to upset you or you're going to be wrong about." So I just looked at it as, just speak to what you know. I'm not going to speak politics, religion, all that stuff. I'm speaking strictly about posture, pain, performance, and the new you, the next level for you. Well, that inspired people to do it. So now, like walking out on stage at a big Tony Robbins event, and for example, we're going to have a UPW in November, probably.
I'll be there, by the way.
Okay, so what do you think the numbers are going to be?
I'd say 7 to 10K.
Oh, I would say double that.
Isn't it the same spot, the convention center?
Might be, and I'm not sure that. I think they might try to increase the numbers on that.
Okay.
The one in San Jose and the one in Newark,
like
those,
15K.
Like 15,000 people, all that stuff. So I don't care whether it's 50 people or 15,000.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you walk out, you can't see the person up in the rafters 100 yards away.
Right.
But I'm speaking to them.
Yeah.
And that's why, from the NLP standpoint, I see you up there in the last row in the red shirt. Can I? I do have fighter pilot vision. I should have been in the Maverick movie, no question. So I see a red something up there, and I'm like, "Okay, red." And they're like, "Yeah."
So would you say that's actually like one of your icebreakers to build the rapport, the trust, is like doing something different like that, like just like calling someone out, or just something that breaks the ice? Is that
100%. That's what I love about, for example, Motley Crue. There's a lot of things I loved about Motley Crue. Okay, and if you didn't grow up in the 80s, you didn't live. So Motley Crue, if you remember right.
Crue? No, I'm just joking.
Exactly. Well, when Tommy Lee took that thing and they brought his drum set and he was playing in the air and took it all the way to the back.
Yeah.
And then I think it was that's why I'm sorry Michael Jackson passed, of course. But selfishly, I wanted to see him because I think they were building a stage where he was going to be coming out to the people in the back.
Wow.
So you're all equal. You're not just spending 20 grand for a seat up here to see me and feel my sweat on top of you. It's, you guys are just as important to me.
That's so
and when you can take the whole arena and turn them into, that's what I love about Tony roaming the floor on the bottom.
Yeah.
But Egoscue does the same thing when he writes a book. He just says, it's about you and I don't care who you are. He has billionaire clients. But my favorite clients a lot of times are the construction guy that I just worked on before this. And he's no less important. John Lynch and the NFL teams we work with are not more important than their parents or grandparents of age people.
So you keep that the same mindset, the same perspective when you speak. And 99.9% of people will maybe never experience 15,000, but you also speak on webinars and IG, lives and stuff, which I'm sure a lot more people do. So how do you take that in there? It's like, what's your tactical ways?
You're not speaking to the camera, you're speaking to the people.
Yeah.
So don't look at the camera. You can look at the camera, right? I'm looking right at the camera here going, okay, I'm looking at the camera. But it's not the camera, it's what's on the other side of the camera. It's the soul of the person on the other side going, I want you to experience Egoscue the way that I have. I want your aha moment. I want to hear about your wow moment. I want you to get a hold of me on Instagram and say, and I know how you'll phrase this, hey, sorry to bother you, but I was on Jake's blah, 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 and it was amazing, but it's about me. Right? Because if it's always about everybody else, don't even feel guilty about it. Become a little selfish.
Yeah.
So when I'm speaking to them in the camera, I'm literally saying, I expect to hear from you. In fact, I'm going to be pissed off if I don't hear from you because we want your questions answered. Because it's about why we do what we do, not what we do. What I do is exercise. That's really all I do. It's no more difficult than that. But what you really do is you can help a person get out of their own way and change their belief system so they create, without the credit going to me or to Pete or to anybody else at Egoscue, they create a compelling future because now they have some trust in their own human body, which, by the way, was developed perfectly.
Yes.
The young lady in the wheelchair, she had a spinal injury. Congratulations, okay? Because life's happening for you, not to you. I guarantee you became a better person because of that injury. You just have to be able to look for that.
I think you've been around Tony for a good amount of time. He really has. Dude, you're so, and that's what I love about it and a lot of people get bottlenecked in the sense like, well, I'm a trainer or I'm a therapist or I'm a financial planner, and they get bottlenecked to where you said, what I do is fitness. But you're way more than that. And we're on this podcast, this show for pushing probably close to 2 hours. I don't know where we're at, but like you barely talked about that. But people are going to resonate with you because of who you are, your mission, your diversity of ways you help people all around. And that should be liberating for people that think that, well, I just do finances, or I'm just an accountant, or I'm just, a personal development coach. A couple years ago, I started as a trainer.
Yep.
So it's truly amazing. Let's kind of wrap up here with what's one story. We do have a lot of people that love Tony. What's one story with Tony and Sage, or either or, that just it just really sticks with you? Whether it's a special moment, a funny moment, the moment that maybe changed your personal life. What comes to mind?
This happened maybe 3 years ago. Maybe 2 to 3 years ago. Pete Egoscue and I were at their house in Florida. And the house, it's just sick, right? Remember, Tony moved from California to Florida, and his tax savings in 13 years paid off a $53 million house. Like, it's just, and he knows that. I'm not telling you anything you guys don't know. He talks about it all the time. Very smart, because he kept saying, well, California didn't want me, right? They didn't want my business. They kept taxing me and all that. We're sitting in this massive house and beautiful ocean right there and all that, and just being present. Mary's there, Sage is there, Pete's there, Tony's there, I'm there. I'm not sure if Billy was there. I don't think Billy was there. But it was an enjoyable moment because have been lucky enough to be around vulnerable men my whole life. Like, it's okay to cry. Like, for me, it's okay to sit down to pee. I'm very in touch with just get comfortable. I don't really care. Yeah. And movies, I'm watching Maverick the other day for the second time, and I'm looking around like, and I'm like,
I broke a tear. It was sad.
Dude, come on. Especially when they hugged at the end, when Iceman and Maverick hugged, and you're going,
that got me.
Oh my God.
That was what got me.
I remember him when he was just Maverick from the 80s, and then you're going, holy cow, like, this is for real. Well, looking at that kind of stuff, I'm sitting around the table and we're eating, grass-fed steak, we're having this, we're having this, blah, blah, blah.
Does he have a chef, by the way, or is it like...
I wish I could tell you more.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
But it's good, high-quality food, because I know he's been super strict. And
he's not. No, he'll tell you he was super strict his whole life with salads and fish, and it almost killed him.
Yeah.
And we were telling him years ago, Dude, have a cheeseburger. Just enjoy a freaking cheeseburger. Oh no, blah, 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 blah. But then, all the mercury and stuff happened to him, which I'm not telling you anything you guys don't know.
Yeah.
But he's become such a better person because of that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting there eating dinner, and he says, we start talking, and he says, how long have you been with Pete? And I said, it feels like 60 years, and Pete's right there, right? And he's like, blah, 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 blah. And I said, no, I think it's been like 27 years, 28 years. And he gets a little teary-eyed. And I'm like, okay.
Pete?
No.
Or Tony?
Tony. Because he said, I value loyalty like that. Like, Brian, you're so loyal to Pete and his message. And he said, he goes, I luckily have people around me that I found are like that too. And I found it to be a very moving situation, and Sage is like, oh, and the way people protect us and all that stuff. But I like that kind of stuff because that's the kind of stuff that I want my son to see. I don't ever hide, like when he broke his foot and he's crying, I was too at a certain point. And I finally got a hold of him and I go, get off me. He goes, what? And he was giving me that hug, right? And it went on for almost too long. I said, this is getting a little uncomfortable. Like, I'm joking about it now.
Yeah.
And he gets on, he goes, okay, I want to go back out in the field. And I said, I hope you can feel that, this is a moment that I'm going to always remember. You're going to remember. I said, but it's over. You've already switched your head to, I got to go out in the field and show that I'm ready to go now. I said, but remember what just happened, because it's a forever game changer that when you have kids, they're going to go through some shit. But it's always opportunity. So that Tony story, and Pete was the same way. Pete was like, he's like, yeah, he goes, I'm very thankful. Brian and I have been business partners and lifelong friends, and that's how I feel about it. Like, I love the guy. There's nothing you could tell me that would upset me about the guy. I'd have to look at it and go, why'd you say it? Blah, blah, blah. Do I want to be like this? In fact, I have a therapist in a clinic who actually said to me on Zoom one day, and she meets with Pete probably once a week with a bunch of other people, and she didn't mean it this way. And I go, well, you got to meet with Pete. She goes, yeah, he's an asshole. And I literally was so taken aback because she's so new. I went, oh boy, like, why do I want to hang up on this Zoom call right now? Like, what is it? But I went into protection mode.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need protection. There was something that it triggered within me that I maybe still haven't figured out yet. And I said, interesting. And I had a talk with her and her clinic director and the owner of the clinic later. And I said, it's interesting that it triggered me. I had to put myself in a position and went, okay, she's 22, 23, 24. And what she meant by a-hole is, I should look at it as a positive. She feels comfortable enough with him to tell me about him. And I took it another way at first. Now I look at it and go, you know what? More power to you, girl. I love the idea that you're getting that close to him. And what I think was happening was, how dare you? You haven't, or how did you mean it? If you didn't mean it in an endearing way, like what? Like I can say that, giving Tony a hard time, giving Peter a hard, they can do the same thing to me. But I know it's coming from a place of just giving each other shit.
Did you think did you have the assumption because she was new, so you're like, what right do you have to
Yeah,
say
like
this
how
yet?
could you say that about that guy? Like, and then how did you mean it? Like, and then I find out that she didn't mean it in a way that I probably took it.
Right.
But then you got to start saying to yourself, like, dude, why'd you take it personally?
Yeah.
Why did you take it personally? And that's interesting.
Why did you?
I don't know. Like I look back at it, now I look back and go, why did you take that personally? I look at Pete as, I'm loyal to him. I'm loyal to the method. I love it. We're going to develop this. We're going to kill chronic pain. But he's earned too much respect and paved the road for a lot of people out there. Everything you know as functional medicine right now is owed to Pete Egoscue. I promise you that. Gray Cook, Kelly Starrett, two of the biggest names in functional movement, will tell you, without Pete Egoscue coming in without blinders on, we never would have opened our eyes to what the possibility is. That was told to me word for word.
Wow.
And the reason I love the statement is that, interesting, because Gray was the first one that I ever heard on stage at a Titleist Performance Institute thing where I was teaching, and he was another one. I called him up and said, bro, it's happened. The paradigm is shifting. You did it. I'm hearing somebody speak that sounds like us. Finally.
Wow.
Because it went 15 years with nothing. And then it was like, hey, get on board with functionality. And now, I mean, there's plenty of people to work on out there. So I don't view anybody as competition. I viewed it as, we've got to shift this paradigm and get people talking like this. And that was Pete's outlook. It can't be just about Pete Egoscue. And that's when I knew I was dealing with a guy that was so magnanimous that it wasn't about the Egoscue, his name, who he is. It's, let's put the legacy out there. And I think that's what hit me was, well, girl, do you even know that he was walking down a road? He sacrificed, for a religious part of this. Like, he carried that cross for a lot of us to be able to benefit from what he did. So the STFU's coming out,
right?
But it wasn't fair to her.
So everything was handled properly. Like, was there any other learning
we're all
lessons?
Good. No, it was all good. It was all good. But it's it was handled I handled it properly because I just kept my mouth shut and tried to figure out why.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Brian, my dude, this has been quite an interview.
Yeah, it was fun.
I mean, I just honor all the stories, the experience. I didn't know you were doing this for 28 years with Tony, but 31 years total. Like, I look at you, I'm like, how's that even possible? But like, honestly, it truly is incredible.
Lying.
It's the Egoscue Method, all right? Now, but seriously, that does keep anti-aging. Man, it's just hearing the stories, hearing the tactical strategies. We barely even talked about fitness, which I'm totally fine because your mindset, the ways that you just have these beliefs and these values that I know so many people are going to resonate because they know who you are, right? And sometimes for me, I have to really understand, well, God, did he give enough tactical stuff? But it's not always about the tactical. It's not always about the what, but it's about the why. And
it almost bores me to say here, here, here.
Yeah.
Because that's the what. If you hear the why, you'll find the what.
Yes.
And that's why we have to go to the why.
So good. And I'm glad we didn't really go down that route. But if people do want the what, message you.
Come to my Instagram. Go to Egoscue. There's Egoscue Method Instagram, the Egoscue Method on Facebook.
Okay.
You'll get a bunch of information on there. Either way, you DM us, we'll get you hooked up within our organization. We actually have tech people who want to capture your email and put you in an opt-in stuff, which I love because then we have a deeper relationship from there rather than this just being a one and done.
And what's your social media for you personally?
The Brian Bradley, and let me explain it.
Please.
Brian Bradley was taken by a hockey player for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and he wouldn't sell it to me, so I just went to the Brian Bradley. So I'm not
quite
that
significant, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
So
and if the was taken, I was going to go to the real.
You could have done the real or THEE, the
Brian Bradley. Brian Bradley, yes.
So reach out to Brian, and anyone in the world could do this because you guys are virtual.
Yep.
You guys have it where it's the same type of quality. If you want to get the posture, I did the posture work before this. First time I've personally done it, and now I'm going to be doing those exercises
every day,
before every workout. I want to get everything activated, even if it's not leg day. Brother, I just got to say one more time, thank you for being on here. Thank you for sharing your heart. You are a busy man. You're literally flying out to Tony's event tomorrow, and you took this time. And I know every single person listening and will be listening to this years onward, let alone myself, truly appreciates that.
Love you.
Thank you,
brother.
Thank
you so much. Thank you, guys.
Yes. And as always, you guys go create your strategic life. You heard it best from the master over here with the Egoscue Method, teaching the trainings, the expertise of Pete Egoscue, working alongside the world's best, Tony Robbins, and truly creating an impact, 50-year plan of helping everyone live pain-free. And it all starts by one person at a time. So don't ever think you're not enough. Don't ever think that you can't do it. And take these learning lessons and know that everything's possible when you do things bigger than yourself. So until then, talk to you guys soon.